There's enough time for the heart to stop beating, for there to be no circulation due to the wounds that I examined from the medical examiner's office. None of the wounds have any blood in them, which tells me that they're all ante-mortem wounds.
New footage just dropped, and it's flipping the whole YNW Melly case upside down. This ain't just another clip floating online. This one's got the internet in chaos, the fans confused, and the streets whispering that what went down that night was way darker than anyone ever imagined. The murder that shocked hip-hop back in 2018 might not have been the drive-by story we all thought, because this camera footage just threw everything into question. What if the truth was caught on tape all along? What if this new video proves that the story wasn't about outsiders pulling up, but something way closer to home? That's what people are saying, and the prosecutors are treating it like their golden ticket to lock Melly down for good. So, here's how it all breaks down.
Specifically the one that is seen in the individual in the black and white jacket.
Correct.
Melly and his homie Bortlen were seen on cam right before everything went left. This wasn't just two dudes cruising around. This was hours before the tragedy that took 2 lives and changed the YNW camp forever. The clip allegedly shows them moving with purpose, almost like something was brewing. And once that footage dropped, the trap started buzzing.
You recognize the individual that got into the back seat on the left side, the rear driver's side?
Yes.
And who was that individual?
Jamel.
And Jamel, is that the defendant, Jamel Demons?
Yes, ma'am.
Because everyone knew that if the state could connect those dots, Melly's freedom might be gone for good. Now let me put you on game. The prosecution came loaded. They're waving around 7 key pieces of evidence that they say prove Melly was the one who pulled the trigger that night. Each one crafted to destroy that drive-by story and place Melly right there in the back seat, holding that iron.
Determination was that this is not a drive-by shooting. Shooter's at a stationary position when all but one of these rounds are going in.
And the scariest part? One piece of footage, straight from New Era recording studios, could be the smoking gun. That camera caught Melly, Bortlen, Sakchaser, and Juvy leaving together around 4:09 a.m., October 26th, 2018. Nothing unusual about friends leaving the studio. But it's where Melly sat later that's got the prosecutors celebrating. The victim's mother had to relive the nightmare during trial, forced to watch that footage and identify her baby. The video allegedly shows Melly sliding into the left rear seat, the same spot forensic experts say every fatal shot came from. That detail alone sent shockwaves through the courtroom. The defense's story, that Melly wasn't even in the car when it all went down.
This is the actual crime scene on US 27 Pembroke Road.
And approximately where along Pembroke Road on this map were those casings discovered?
Started falling apart fast. Investigators found no signs of an outside ambush. No bullet holes coming in from the passenger side. Instead, the damage showed something chilling. The driver's side window shattered from inside the car. That flipped everything. Then came Sergeant Christopher Williams, the forensic expert who laid it all out. He said 8 shell casings were found inside that Jeep. 2 different calibers, a .40 and a .45.
Specifically the one that is seen in the individual in the black and white jacket.
Correct.
And when they tracked the bullet paths, all signs pointed to the exact spot Melly was sitting in. The timing of the wounds told a grim story. Both victims were already gone before that fake drive-by scene was staged. It painted a picture of something cold, planned and personal. Melly's DNA was all over that left rear door handle, putting him right there where the feds say the shots came from. His lawyers tried to spin it, saying he could have just touched the handle earlier. But with that surveillance footage on top, it's a hard sell. Still, one thing gave his defense a little breathing room.
Did Mr. Henry have possession of either of those satchels or man purses at the hospital?
No, ma'am.
No gunshot residue was found on Melly's hands. His team's been using that to fight back, arguing that maybe someone else fired the shots. But with this new footage surfacing, the whole case feels like it's about to explode all over again. He didn't bust no shot. That's what his defense keeps saying. But the prosecution ain't buying it, not one bit. They claim that even if Melly didn't personally pull the trigger, too much time passed before they tested him for residue. So the clean results don't mean nothing. And that's where the tech evidence slides in like a knockout punch. Because it's not just suspicious, it's straight incriminating. Investigators dropped the digital bombshell, Melly's phone data. Detective Mark Moretti broke down the GPS pings that put Melly's phone right near the murder scene that night. The same area he swore up and down he wasn't at. Those location hits lined up almost perfectly with the time frame of the killings. And prosecutors said it placed him in the middle of everything when his brothers got dropped. But that's not even the craziest part, because once you mix in the social media trail, it gets even darker. The state pulled up an Instagram DM where Melly supposedly wrote, "Shh, I did that," when someone asked him about the murders. If that message is real, that's not just reckless. That's like confessing to a double homicide through the gram. The jury gasped when that came up, and even the defense looked stunned. And then came the mystery of the missing bags. According to Detective Polo's testimony, when the crew left the studio, cameras caught Melly and Bortlen each carrying a bag. But when Bortlen rolled up to the hospital later,
this is huge. And this is one of the biggest nightmares that any prosecutor could face, where you're getting taken off the case and now being called as a witness in said case.
those bags were gone, vanished into thin air. Prosecutors say that's no coincidence, calling it a cleanup job worthy of a crime movie. Legal experts are speculating those bags could have held the murder weapons. Weapons that to this day have never been recovered. That's some real organized level behavior right there. But the prosecution didn't stop there. They wanted to prove why Melly would allegedly turn on his own. Gang expert Danny Polo took the stand, claiming Melly's ties to the Bloods played a key role. According to him, taking out Sakchaser and Juvy could have boosted Melly's status in the set.
That YNW Bortlen is not going to be a flipper, and he is not going to be the cheese eater I previously said that he could become. And he is going to give a statement. I don't know what that statement's going to be, but his attorney is an excellent attorney. He's one of my good friends and you know, really helped me out as a young attorney. Fred Haddad, a great guy. And he represented very, very few, if any, flippers in the past.
Even opened doors for more money and power. Then came the text messages. The kind that tell you everything's been boiling long before the shots were fired. There were messages showing Sakchaser frustrated about Melly getting all the fame while he was doing the grunt work behind the scenes. Money, power, respect. The deadliest trio in the streets. It got even messier when Sakchaser started arguing with Melly's mom about business and money moves in the hood. When family gets dragged into street drama, lines get crossed real fast, and the results can turn deadly. The prosecution's theory is wild but calculated.
So theoretically, Phillips said Bortlen could now be called as a witness in Melly's upcoming trial. He could testify for Melly or against Melly. But my guess is if he's agreeing to do a proffer, he's going to snitch. I expect that to be the case, Phillips said. If they subpoena him, he can no longer take the Fifth Amendment on these issues.
They say after the murders went down, Melly and Bortlen drove the bodies somewhere else, then shot up their own car from outside to make it look like a drive-by. But the forensic evidence didn't lie. The bullet holes, the blood spatter, the trajectory. None of it matched what you'd see in a real drive-by shooting. It was staged, they said, sloppy but planned. And then came the hospital footage that raised every eyebrow in the courtroom. Security cameras caught Bortlen switching clothes right after arriving, like he was trying to ditch the evidence. Nurses said he seemed nervous, confused, and kept switching up his story about what happened. But the biggest red flag? Melly never even showed up to the hospital, even though those were his own people. That absence hit the jury like a gut punch, because if your brothers are fighting for their lives, why wouldn't you be there? Something about that silence said more than any testimony ever could. If your day ones just got hit, and you really love them like you say you did.
At the end of the day, Mr. Henry knows what happened. He was in the car, but he wasn't the shooter. And so finally, after all these years, for him to plead no contest, even though he was adjudicated guilty and accepted responsibility for this, in part, was...
Wouldn't you be at that hospital, pacing the floor, praying they pull through? That's exactly what the prosecution's been saying. Because if your brothers just got shot and you're nowhere to be found, something about that picture don't sit right. And that absence? It's haunting this whole case like a ghost that won't leave. But what really turned heads is how the prosecution's now using Melly's own lyrics against him. Yeah, you heard that right. They're dragging "Murder on My Mind" into the courtroom, trying to twist his bars into a confession. They claim those lyrics reveal his mindset.
You guys are so criminal-minded and caught up into this street culture where black people aren't even smart anymore. They think everybody...
The thoughts of someone already planning violence before the murders even happened. Prosecutors originally wanted to use over 100 of his songs, but the battle over whether that's even legal is still raging in appeals court. It's a whole war over whether rap lyrics can be treated like evidence or just art. And it's not just songs. There's even a promotional video the state's fighting to introduce. They say it shows Melly acting out things too close to the real crime. But again, it's tied up in appeals, because lawyers are debating where the line between creativity and criminality really is. Should a man's art be used to lock him away? That question's got the whole music industry watching. Meanwhile, Melly's defense team keeps swinging back hard. They're calling the state's case sloppy, saying it's built on shaky assumptions and bad police work. They remind everyone, no gunshot residue on Melly's hands, no murder weapon recovered, and major inconsistencies in witness statements. Then came the bombshell.
All right, Mr. Henry, I'm not quite sure how your lawyers managed to do this, but I wish you good luck, sir.
Detective Mark Moretti admitted under oath that he threatened witnesses with deportation and jail time to make them talk. That shook the courtroom! Because if witnesses were pressured, how much of their story can the jury really trust? Still, the biggest blow came when Bortlen, now known as Cortland Bortlen Henry, took that plea deal. By admitting that the murders happened inside the car and that he helped cover it up, he didn't just protect himself. He flipped the whole narrative on its head. That confession cornered Melly's defense like never before. They can't claim it was a drive-by anymore. They can't deny that 2 people were killed inside that Jeep.
So the three forms to me look like on the 19th case as to the 2 counts of accessory after the fact, as well as to all 4 counts in the 23 case. These are going to be adjudication, 10 years Florida State Prison, followed by, let's say, 6 years.
Now they've got to convince a jury that Melly didn't pull the trigger. A nearly impossible task when every piece of evidence, from DNA to phone pings, points his way. But here's where things get even wilder. Because while prosecutors think they've sealed the deal, the defense still believes they can flip the script. In the streets, everyone's saying the same thing.
So here's what happens. He goes and he testifies, or, talks to the prosecutor in a proffer. His lawyer's there, the agents on the case are there, the prosecutor's there. They ask him whatever they want, right? And nothing he says can be held against him in that proffer. Nothing. And this is what they call a snitch.
Evidence is one thing, but proving guilt beyond a reasonable doubt? That's another! Especially when the case is this messy, this public, and this tied up in street politics and fame.
No. His attorney said no, he will not testify. The only thing that's going to happen based on what his attorney said is he only got to answer a couple questions from the state, and then he got to go serve his time. And
now as the retrial looms, Melly's defense team is facing what some are calling a nightmare scenario. With Bortlen's plea now officially on record, they had to toss their entire old strategy in the trash and start from scratch. It's do or die now, and their next move could make or break Melly's future forever.
I look like taking the deal that hurt my... I look like giving about how y'all feel. I'm a young fly, be back to raising hell, prevail.
Back in the 2023 trial, the defense already stirred up controversy when Melly's attorney, David Howard, pointed the finger directly at Bortlen, telling the jury that his client was innocent and that Bortlen was the real shooter. He said, those were Bortlen's lies. He lies about where it happened. He lies about how it happened. And he lies about not having the phone.
Pleading to accessory to murder after the fact. You have to acknowledge that the murder happened and you assisted someone or in some way to cover the murder. Now, if Melly's statement is, how do we know there was a murder? And then secondly, how do we know who did the murder? Because they said it was a drive-by.
That statement shook up the hip-hop community, because to the streets that looked like snitching. Not by Melly himself, but by his own legal team. Social media exploded with posts saying, YNW Melly's defense threw Bortlen under the bus in court. Fans were torn. Was it strategy or betrayal? One viral comment summed it up best. If Melly's lawyers just blamed Bortlen, no way Bortlen don't turn state.
I hope they get his kid life. I hope he never gets out of prison. Yeah. He killed his friends.
And that's exactly what happened. The streets knew it was coming before the paperwork even hit the desk. Now both sides are scrambling. The prosecution confident they've got their man, and the defense desperate to rewrite the story before the retrial begins. And with this new footage in play, the world's about to see if Melly walks free, or gets buried by the very lyrics and loyalty that once made him famous. The defense came swinging with a strategy that had the whole hood split down the middle. Their entire case hinged on a few explosive arguments.
Yeah, I think that it's important. And, this is a homicide case. This is a high stakes case. You want to ensure that there is integrity in the prosecution of this case because this family does deserve justice. And there isn't a person that deserves to be wrongfully convicted or in prison for something that they didn't do.
And they made sure everyone hit like a punch. Defense attorney David Howard laid it out plain. Bortlen, not Melly, was the one who fired them shots. He told the jury that Bortlen tested positive for gunshot residue while Melly didn't, and that single detail became the centerpiece of their defense. To them, it wasn't just science. It was proof that Melly wasn't the trigger man, just caught up in a storm that wasn't his doing. The defense only called one witness, Melly's close friend, Adrian A.D. Davis, and his testimony was meant to flip the whole story. Davis swore Melly was at the house, knocked out asleep when the shooting happened. He said he found out about the murders at the exact same time as Melly, and even described how his boy was wearing just shorts and a t-shirt when they got the call. It painted a picture of a dude chilling at home, not out catching bodies. Then the defense turned all their fire toward the cops, especially Detective Mark Moretti. They accused him of being obsessed with Melly, targeting him because of his fame, money, and street image. In court, they dragged up Moretti's own words. His admission that he threatened witnesses with jail time and deportation to make them talk. That move rocked the courtroom and raised serious questions about the whole investigation's integrity. In the hood, that kind of thing sounds like dirty police work, and people started wondering, if they had to pressure witnesses like that, what else might they have twisted? But the courtroom chaos didn't stop there, because even the prosecutors got caught slipping. Lead prosecutor Christine Bradley was suddenly removed from the case after being accused of hiding evidence from the defense. That's right. The state's own star lawyer got sidelined for allegedly covering up shady moves tied to a police witness. Apparently, one officer was caught asking another to lie about being present during a search warrant. That revelation hit like a bomb in court. Legal expert Melba Pearson called it a major turning point, because with Bradley gone, the defense now had the green light to call her as a witness and expose the officer who tried to fake testimony. That was a bold move, and it forced the state to scramble, bringing in a brand new team of prosecutors who had to learn 5 years' worth of evidence, statements, and forensic data in record time before retrial. Meanwhile, Melly's own defense camp was spiraling into chaos. In August 2025, Melly fired his entire legal team amid a prosecutor-led probe into alleged witness tampering. His new attorneys, Carrie Hua and Drew Findling, stepped into a storm that was already out of control. They inherited a case tangled in contradictions, missing evidence, and a co-defendant who had just flipped. Reports say Melly believed the prosecutor's office was interfering with his lawyers, which might have sparked the firings, though nobody really knows what went down behind the scenes. With Bortlen no longer a co-defendant after his plea, Melly's side lost a major strategic edge. Veteran defense attorney Bradford Cohen explained how big that was, saying it stripped the team of their ability to play off Bortlen's silence or share defenses. But not everyone agreed that all hope was lost. Legal commentator Bruce Rivers went on record predicting that something serious was about to drop, hinting that this case was far from over. While the legal chess match kept dragging, two families were still living a nightmare that never ended. The families of Anthony Williams and Christopher Thomas Jr., known to fans as YNW Juvy and YNW Sakchaser, have been waiting almost 7 years for closure. Their attorney, John M. Phillips, has been balancing both the criminal and civil sides of the case, fighting to bring their loved one's story to light. Phillips said Bortlen's plea deal changed everything, because once he admitted to helping cover up the murders, he lost the right to plead the Fifth in civil court. That means he'll have to talk under oath in those depositions, possibly revealing details that could finally explain what really happened in that Jeep on October 26, 2018. That's the moment everyone's been waiting for. The truth under no street code, no silence, just cold facts. This entire case has cracked open deep wounds in hip-hop, questions about loyalty, fame, and the price of keeping it real. Even Charleston White jumped in, calling out how the culture glorifies silence and revenge instead of truth and accountability. It's not just a legal battle anymore. It's a reflection of the war between street loyalty and survival. And right now, everyone's watching to see which side Melly's story lands on. Charleston White's criticism hit deeper than people wanted to admit. He wasn't just clowning rappers. He was exposing the entire culture of blind loyalty. He said fans love to scream, "Free him," before they even peep the paperwork. That folks will defend their favorite artists like family, even when the evidence is staring everyone dead in the face. And when it came to YNW Melly, that hit especially hard, because despite all the headlines, years of trials, and endless debates, the core evidence never changed. That surveillance footage, still showing Melly climbing into that left rear seat. The one ballistic experts tied to the fatal shots. The ballistics report, still ripping holes through the drive-by story the defense tried to sell. And the digital trail, still pinging Melly's phone right there at the scene. Nothing new there, just the same facts, the same camera angles, and the same haunting timeline. What did change was the legal landscape around all that evidence. And the streets could feel it. When Bortlen copped that plea deal, confirming the murders happened inside the whip, the defense's whole strategy crumbled overnight. They couldn't argue no crime anymore. They couldn't push that fake drive-by narrative. Once your own co-defendant admits it went down in the car, it's game over for the old story. And when I say this YNW Melly case got messy fast, I mean real messy. September 9th, 2025, mark that date. That's when everything flipped in one of hip-hop's most watched murder trials. Inside the Broward County Courthouse, YNW Bortlen walked in one man and left another. Even Judge Michael Usen looked confused, saying he couldn't figure out how Bortlen's lawyers pulled off such a sweet deal. Because make no mistake, this wasn't some small plea. This was a legal miracle. Bortlen was facing life, or worse, the death penalty, on 2 first-degree murder charges. But somehow he walked out with just 10 years in prison and 6 more on probation. That's unheard of. To the streets, that looked like straight finessing the system on a professional level. Everybody was asking the same thing. How you go from life to 10? For years, both Melly and Bortlen kept the same line. We innocent. Melly's first trial back in 2023 ended in chaos. A hung jury. 9 jurors voted not guilty, while 3 said guilty, splitting the entire courtroom down the middle. That retrial got pushed to January 2027, giving Melly's defense time to regroup and rebuild, until that September day changed everything. The vibe inside that courtroom was ice cold. Only 8 people showed up to support Bortlen, including Melly's mom and his little brother. No label execs, no entourage, no friends of the victims, not even a 100K track. The energy was off, man. It felt abandoned, hollow, like everyone knew the storm that was coming. Bortlen's deal sounded simple on paper, but had serious weight. He pleaded guilty to accessory after the fact and witness tampering. In return, prosecutors dropped both murder charges, the ones that could have had him in a cell for life. But here's where things started getting spicy. The plea came with a proffer agreement. Now, if you don't know, that's legal talk for, you better come sit down and talk. It meant the feds wanted Bortlen to spill what he knew. Details, locations, timelines, everything. They wanted the inside story from the only man still alive who was in that car that night. And when word of that proffer hit the streets, the rumors exploded like wildfire. Attorney Bruce Rivers broke it down in plain terms. A proffer doesn't always mean snitching, but it definitely means talking. It's that gray area between cooperation and confession. And depending on what gets said, it can make or break another man's case. That's why the hood immediately started buzzing, asking the real question no one wanted to answer. Was YNW Bortlen about to rat on his brother? Even attorney John M. Phillips, who's representing one of the victims' families, said this deal was a turning point. Because if Bortlen really sat down with the feds, he could hold the keys to unlocking everything that's been buried for 7 long years. From the real motive to what happened after the shots, to how that cover-up got pulled together. The whispers got loud fast. Some said he was protecting himself, others said he broke the code. Either way, that 10-year deal sent a message. Somebody was talking, and the game just changed forever. Attorney John M. Phillips, who's representing one of the victims' families, said plain and clear, Bortlen agreeing to talk could give prosecutors exactly what they'd been missing to finally nail Melly once and for all. That one move could fill in every blank in the timeline, every unanswered question that's kept this case alive for 7 long years. But Bortlen's lawyer, Fred Haddad, wasn't about to let the streets or the media twist the story. He clapped back hard, saying, "I don't represent snitches!" and made it crystal clear that his client wasn't throwing Melly under the bus. According to Haddad, that proffer agreement was limited, meaning Bortlen would sit down, answer specific questions, but wouldn't take the stand to testify against Melly in open court. No pointing fingers, no courtroom betrayal, just strategic survival. Still, that didn't stop the streets from going wild. Half the people were calling it straight-up ratting, while the other half said it was just a smart play to keep himself alive and out before old age. Then came the voice of reason. Reporter Seti Nash, one of the few who was actually inside that courtroom when it all went down. Nash said that while yes, there was cooperation, it wasn't the tell-all type of deal people were running with online. According to his scoop, Bortlen's cooperation was minimal, not enough to put Melly in immediate danger. That contradicted all the street rumors painting Bortlen like some full-blown informant singing to the feds. Still, the timing of it all had everyone scratching their heads. They had 250 potential jurors ready to report the next morning. The courthouse was prepped, money had been spent, lawyers were ready for war, and then out of nowhere, Bortlen folds. The last-minute flip looked like either desperation or the deal of a lifetime. The streets couldn't tell which one it was. But what really had everyone talking was what happened after that courtroom moment. The next day, from behind bars, Bortlen grabbed a jail phone and dropped a freestyle that sent the internet into overdrive. In the track, he addressed the snitch rumors head-on, letting everyone know he didn't flip on nobody. That freestyle was his message to the world. He might have taken a plea, but he didn't trade his loyalty for freedom. He basically said he did what he had to do to survive in a system designed to break men like him. But he wasn't about to help the state put his brother on death row. Within days, Bortlen was shipped off to state prison. The transformation was instant. They shaved off his dreads, stripped away the designer clothes, and handed him that brown uniform. From rap star to inmate, from stages to steel bars, it was the kind of reality check that changes a man forever. That's the moment he went from YNW Bortlen to just another doc number. And you could see it, that pain, that reflection, that sense that life had just flipped on him overnight. But then DJ Academics came through with his trademark breakdown, the type of analysis that makes everybody stop scrolling and start thinking. He reminded people that even without Bortlen testifying, the plea itself was already a massive problem for Melly's defense. Academics explained that by admitting the murders happened inside the vehicle, and that he helped cover it up, Bortlen unintentionally crushed the drive-by story they both used to claim innocence. That admission alone, even without direct snitching, gave the prosecution a whole new way to frame Melly as the shooter. And that's when the culture split in two. The hip-hop community didn't know what to think. Some said Bortlen violated the street code. Others said he just played the system smarter than most ever could. In a world where snitching is the dirtiest word you can attach to a man's name, this deal blurred every line imaginable. Was it betrayal? Or was it self-preservation in a system built to make brothers take the fall for each other? Charleston White had zero patience for those questions. He came in swinging. No filter, no sympathy, just raw street philosophy. He said the problem wasn't the justice system. It was the culture itself. That too many fans and rappers glorify loyalty over logic, even when the truth is right in their face. His words had people heated, but they also hit a nerve. Because at the end of the day, this wasn't just about Melly or Bortlen anymore. It was about what happens when fame, fear, and the street code collide head-on in front of the whole world. He killed his friends. That's how Charleston White summed it up, cold and blunt. His perspective represented one side of the community. The part that believes if you take out your own day ones, your fame, your money, and your reputation don't mean a thing. In White's eyes, no song, no plaque, no fan base could wash away something that raw. He said straight up, if you murk your homies, you face the consequences. And to a lot of folks in the streets, that hit home. Because this whole YNW Melly case stopped being just about music a long time ago. It became a moral question about loyalty, justice, and betrayal. Bortlen's plea deal changed the entire landscape, with him no longer a co-defendant and possibly offering cooperation to the prosecution. Melly's defense team found themselves standing alone against the state. This was a turning point, the kind of legal shakeup that flipped the script in one of hip-hop's most captivating murder cases since 2018. Now, Melly's retrial, once expected to happen earlier, got pushed all the way to January 2027. The reason? Endless appeals over what evidence the court would even allow. The appellate judges still have to rule on whether prosecutors can use Melly's digital footprints, his phone data, his messages, even his alleged gang ties, to paint a picture of his motives and state of mind. Every delay adds more pressure, more eyes, and more speculation. The state's new prosecutors have to dig through thousands of pages of discovery and retrace every piece of testimony from the original trial, while Melly's new defense squad has to rebuild their strategy from scratch, this time without Bortlen standing beside him. But despite all the legal reshuffling, the stakes haven't changed. Not even a little bit. YNW Melly is still facing 2 counts of first-degree murder and the possibility of the death penalty if convicted. And under Florida's modified death penalty law, it only takes 8 jurors to vote for execution. Not a unanimous decision. That's a terrifying reality for a 25-year-old who once had platinum records and millions of fans chanting his name. The question of justice in this case isn't just a courtroom debate, it's personal. It's emotional. It's raw. For the families of Anthony Williams, YNW Juvy, and Christopher Thomas Jr., YNW Sakchaser, justice means accountability. Plain and simple. They've been waiting since 2018 to see the man or men responsible finally pay for what happened that night. But for Melly's supporters, justice means making sure an innocent man doesn't get executed for something he didn't do. And for the broader public watching this unfold, the journalists, the legal minds, the fans, justice means something even bigger. A fair trial. One based on evidence, not internet gossip or emotional headlines. Legal analyst Safa Robinson-Farah said it best. This case can't just be about who the public likes more. It's got to be about who the evidence points to. Because once the state straps someone into that death chamber, there's no do-over. What's guaranteed is that this case already changed lives forever. 2 young men are gone. 2 families will never be the same. Bortlen's spending a decade behind bars for covering up the crime, and Melly's fighting for his life against the most unforgiving system in America. Every person tied to this tragedy, from lawyers to fans, has felt the fallout. And the streets? They've been watching every move, waiting to see what happens when loyalty meets law and when the truth finally surfaces. The 2027 trial will look nothing like the chaotic 2023 mistrial. New prosecutors, new defense team, new evidence battles. But the heart of the story stays the same. What really happened inside that Jeep on October 26, 2018? Who pulled that trigger that ended 2 young lives in cold blood? And when that courtroom opens again, can the justice system finally bring closure? Not just for the families of the fallen, but for the streets that have been haunted by this case for nearly a decade. Only time will tell. The countdown to January 2027 has already begun, and the world's eyes will be locked on Broward County once again. Whether Melly walks free or faces the ultimate sentence, this will go down as one of the most controversial, emotional, and culture-shifting trials in hip-hop history. And when that day comes, every headline, every lyric, every courtroom whisper will finally collide in one final verdict that decides the fate of YNW Melly. Because in the end, this story isn't just about who's guilty. It's about what justice really means when the streets, the system, and the spotlight all crash together in one courtroom. Like this video, and click the card on your screen for more breakdowns from the case that changed hip-hop forever.